Hello. You can't catch up with the VODs. That is tragic and terrible. I don't know what to do about that. How do you deal with functions returning an unknown amount of data? I mean, it really depends on exactly what they're doing. Like, do you want to give me a very specific example of what you're doing? Let's get another free font. Let's be ridiculous. What kind of garbage? Dude, the internet is so bad. How do I just get a font? This is not too bad. It costs $1. Oh, no. Free for a commercial. We're not even using commercially. Some of these are not that bad. Let's make a data folder. Gonna move this. How do you move? Is there not even a UI for it? All right. So okay. Okay, great. 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 Okay. So good. So good. Anyway. Let's go down here. Title font is a what's called Miyama. 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 I forget what this third argument is. What is that third argument? Backup font name. All right. Cannot load font Miyama because I did gotta say TTF. Okay, now we'll do title font. This is really fine. I'm going to use a default label theme. We're just going to go core draw label. actually, now we're going to go label are some widgets okay. What is R? R is get rect 0 something the screen width which is render width and some height. So the y coordinate we're just going to do this, and we're going to go so that's going to not type match, right? Yeah. Right there. Wait, what? What happened there? Oh, okay, wait, because didn't I just load that a minute ago? Am I hallucinating? What if I do this? What if I use my same font? Wait. Yeah, I don't understand. No, we're just, oh, because our label font is not setting the font. Got to do that. Okay. So that's fine. But we want our nicer font. Right? Why is this font not loading? Is it just a BOGO font? Let's try the OTF. Oh wait, did I copy the OTF? I did, and I'm trying to load the TTF. Wait, which one's smaller? The OTF is much smaller. Okay. Okay. I hope somebody noticed that I was doing that, loading the wrong thing. Okay. That is, yeah. Go a little bigger. This doesn't really look like an S. It looks like widgetto. 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 Okay. So. Widgetto. Let's alter the color on that just slightly. That's nice. Okay. So now that I have that, why do we have text width? Like this thing doesn't. Okay. So. Yeah, we gotta go back to this button thing now that we know what we're doing. Okay. Widgetto. Hmm. Widgeto. Have you tested? Did you not see, bro? What kind of bullshit house do you think we're running here? Okay, well that's a problem. Some kind of bug there. Okay, so we ran out of memory or something. That's weird. I've never actually seen that. Good thing you brought it up. Yeah, it mostly works till it doesn't. I think this is an OpenGL backend bug. All right, well, we've got a new thing to debug. That is really weird. Okay, I don't think that happened till we started drawing the title. So I think our texture atlas is not calibrated. Let's see. Okay, if we turn off the title, let's see if that still happens. Where are we? Example. If I don't actually draw the title, I bet there's no problem. I bet we're oh, well, I got to finish this. Hold on 1 second. Just going to copy that. Wait, no, we don't need that. Let's go back to button for a second. All right. Okay, so now that we're not drawing the title, I bet we're fine. So the problem is that the big font is using a lot more atlas space, and that's causing us to not do something correctly when we need to. Like, we're supposed to make new atlas pages and stuff. And I think that's broke. But yeah, the basic font rendering works fine at multi-resolutions. It's just we have a problem with our big O font. Or maybe it's even the shape of that specific font is triggering a bug. Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens if we do title font, but let's get rid of this. What else? Let's get rid of that. Okay. So let's do this one again for a second. And see if that also triggers it. Okay. Some widgets. It's little now. It's big now. It's little. It's little. Oh, there we go. Right there. So I think what's happening, these characters are failing to get atlas space for some reason, and so they're just getting. So you see the letters there that we're getting instead of the W? That's like actually what the atlas looks like. It's just a bunch of characters packed together, and that's clearly the atlas for a smaller font size. So we're probably, yeah, I don't know. It's failing, that's for sure. It's probably just silently failing and it knows it's failing. But then now we managed to get sizes. So it's not like we're totally out of space. It could, you know what this could be? Okay. This might not be a bug in getting Atlas space. This could just be a bug in the rendering. So the more Atlas pages that you use, the more you need to context switch like which page you're using in the middle of rendering. And we might not be doing that correctly. So like one way to test that would be if we step into some widgets, right? And T is on a separate Atlas page than E. And if we don't do the refresh correctly, then it'll be bad. Like, yeah, see, I just resized to a new large size and we got all of these. So, yeah, I feel like it is a texture context switcheroony problem. Well, do I solve that now? I want to finish the label thing, and then we'll look at that. The green bar fails too. Well, the green bar might not... I bet it leaves the text shader up, which is also bad, right? No, because we set shader for color first. Wait, let me see. You guys are saying the green bar fails. Boom, 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 boom. Oh, that's not the bar. That's the numbers over the bar. That's the numbers over the bar, guys. The bar itself is fine. Can't you tell what numbers look like? Jeez. All right. So we have determined that this is not related to that. Let me finish the label stuff. Finishing the label stuff. Ah. Like, I don't really know even... Okay, hold on. Let's just get rid of this. We're just going to bubble it down. And this doesn't take frickin' text width. So that's great. And then this, like, why don't I just say label here? I guess so that we don't do the scissor. Like, let's just get rid of these. Whoops. That was the wrong one. So this is not calling chord draw label, right? I mean, what? It's almost no point in that function existing. Anyway. So effects is going to be on label theme. We're just breaking everything. Why is draw text? We're going to have to test label themes. Okay, draw text takes effects. Okay. Okay. So a lot of things broke now. So basically, the way that your API works can either be like, it's amazing how uncareful certain kinds of thought will be if you just program stuff, right? So the way this API, the way I want it to work is there's a theme that controls the visual stuff that you're unlikely to change from frame to frame. That's like the visual identity of the thing. And then things that you might change from frame to frame or whatever are the parameters apart from that. And like, even knowing that, I still had various mixtures of these things in ways that were not very useful and were confusing. So I'm trying to clean that up a little bit right now. All right. So here I actually, I think I want actual label. And like text width. All right. Like there's this thing about like if glyphs are prepped. See, like passing text width is not even that good because if glyphs are prepped, then draw text can just frickin' draw the prepped glyphs, right? Anyway, so we're getting rid of all this stuff. Our text theme. So button now. Wanted 4, got 5. Because alignment and alignment pad M's. So I mean, I'll leave that for a second. I'm not sure that I want that text width. Okay. Great. All right. Yeah, every piece of UI can have its own theme. The theme is just a very lightweight data structure that you pass around. Okay. Let's just say right now the and label is that so what did we want the text width for? Oh, it's because you want to like click on it and stuff. So like actually, yeah, we want, again, this will be for later. will involve a hook actually this is something, see, this API in SIMP is a little bit, so this is the thing, to get the width of a string, you basically need to lay the string out and have all the glyphs available. So once you've done that, you might as well just draw them later, right? Instead of regenerating them later. So that's an optimization that we could do that's probably significant. It's just we're not quite set up for that. Fonts are cached in the atlas, so you don't re-rasterize unless you change resolutions. Yeah, UTF-16 is silly. UTF-16, bad idea. Bad idea. Okay. I think if prep text just returns the width, that's probably the best thing. And then draw prepped text. Yeah. They'll finally switch to UTF-8 for A functions. I'm just going to start banning people who ask about the camera. Guys, if I don't turn the camera on, it's because I didn't turn the camera on. Jesus. Everyone wants to bother me about every little thing that doesn't matter. Holy cow. Holy moly. Okay, so I had just wanted to clean up label this morning. That was sort of my minimum criterion for success. We're getting about there. Let me look for chord draw label. What am I doing? So button still says chord draw label. That's fine. Okay, no, you know what? Here's what I want to do. I want to change simp so that it has this text prep system. And then I want to use that. Like I did this text prep thing before, and it was great. And so I guess I didn't fully port that to simp. So let's run the tests and check in. All right. In label. Okay, so we are passing all the tests. You need to use a manifest. That's freaking great. That's just what I want to do, is use a manifest. Okay. Okay, great. So good. Do we say, I always forget. Okay, so we delete modules that we don't want to export. All right. Anyway, so I want to go to simp. So here we're centering this text. So I think we want to prep it and then draw. So prep text. Why is this doing this? That doesn't sound right. Okay, what does draw text do? Oh, that's not in font, obviously. Prep text, draw prepared text. Okay. So if I say that draw prepared text, if draw prepared text can take an offset and prep text yeah. Okay. So the thing is, we have all the coordinates in the thing. And so when we do immediate quad, okay. Let's do it this way. This is going to prep text, generate quads, draw prepared text. So the reason why I'm breaking that up actually, okay, this is confusing. So if I generate quads and draw prepared text, which is in GL, so you kind of want to hook into this in two different places is the problem I'm having. So one, you want to prep the text. That just makes the glyphs. That does all the weird font stuff, right? And tells you the width of the text, which is very often something you want to know, right? So you want to prep text, and then you want to say draw prepped text, right? But also, you want to have something that says prep the text and generate the quads for the prepped text. But I want to render the quads. Okay. But maybe that just means that those are the places where we break it up, right? So maybe that just means we say prep text, generate quads for prepared text, right? So prep text let's just say prepare, like, let's speak English. Prepare text, generate quads for prepared text, draw prepared text. Okay, draw generated quads, right? We could have a draw generated quads and a draw prepared text, basically. And those would all need to be like entry points. Right, so this is draw generated quads Okay. But then here, commonly what people will do is they won't want to do the quad part explicitly. They'll want to say, draw prepared text. Right? And that's just this. All right. So if you just don't care and don't want to think about it, you call draw text. Or you can call draw prepared text. Okay. Now, we will say that prepare text returns why do we have two of these? We're going to have to clean that up. Okay. See, to-do lists just grow. They just grow, okay? They just grow. They just grow. Okay. All right, so prepare text here does not use these. Draw generated quads, right? So that's the thing. Where did that go? All right, so that kind of works. So now we can go into the example. And we can go prepare text. Yeah, see, I had a cleanup note here. Text width is simp.prepare text. Okay. And down here, instead of generate quads for, instead of draw text, we're going to go draw prepared text with the font, the X, the Y, no text parameter, just the color. Actually, draw prepared text. I guess we'll pass effects. Generate quads is not going to use effects, right? We'll keep it just in case. We don't know what we're going to use that for. Anyway, so we've drawn prepared text. Okay, that is more efficient. Doesn't matter for a small string with 5 characters, but that is good for us. Okay. Okay, cool. Now I want to deprecate width in pixels. Okay, Okay. That's good. Now, though, there's probably some people use that, right? I mean, certainly our widget stuff does. That's most of it. Key map example. Oh, guys, I forgot about the key map example. This, like, we want to do resizes. Because we handled window resizes now. Okay. Okay, great. This was originally a copy of the simp example anyway. I forgot that we delivered the key map value to the... Wait, we haven't even done that yet, right? That is in this beta where we are delivering the value of the key map to the people. Okay, so here we'll use prep text as well. Right, so we should have gotten a deprecated. Procedure is deprecated. Yeah. Text width is simp.prepare text. And then we draw prepared text. All right. No more deprecated. We still get this type info warning on GL procedures, but okay. I forget what all our keys were in the key map. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, snickerdoodle. Okay, wow, we're going to be giving so much value to the people. It's going to be crazy. All right, so we did that. I can get rid of that cleanup. Get rid of that cleanup note. Render, modules render is going to go away and simp. Okay. Okay, so it's really get wrecked that now. So we want prepare text and draw prepared text. We're not going to require all three of these. Draw prepared text is a font, XY, text color, and effects. Okay. Okay. So we're using this thing that doesn't exist anymore, which is fine. We draw prepared text. Now we are using it in text input. Damn it. Oh, we're overriding this. What do we draw down here? I don't know. All right. So I'm just doing all this. I'm breaking these into 2 calls just because I don't want to require, I could just make my own little thing. I could say draw text. So we just do this, prepare text, and that way okay. So we just do that. And I'll say we don't necessarily reuse prepared text here currently because it's just confusing what is going on with all the autocomplete stuff. But it's possible. It's June 1st. Oh my goodness. All right. So we can go my draw text. Okay. And then my draw text. Okay. Okay, so I'm sure there's more. Yep. 371. Oh, it's way up here. wait, but we already... We already know this. Okay, so all right. Well, this is more efficient. Width up to insert. No, S64. Yeah, so we don't need this S up to insert stuff. Gains, we're making gains, man. That's great. We don't even need that, so this is just this. Gains. Borough, Kentucky. Yeah. So now there's another one. Of course, I might have broken a lot of things, but okay. Button. Okay, so in our to-do list, okay. Text input has another one, and another one. And another one. All right. All right. Wait. Really? All right. Here we go. This is the thing that does plug-ins. I guess I didn't delete that one as I meant to. All right, so now we are still using one in module. The difference is okay, so we did that. And this is if the user passes in a set of hooks for us to use. Instead of using simp, then we need to make sure that they gave us all the callbacks. Because otherwise we crash randomly somewhere in the code. But here we just check, and if they forget one, they get an assertion that tells them exactly what they didn't pass, which is good. Okay, so 375. This text size thing is dumb. All right. All right. Great. What happens when we run? Oh, goodness. It's mostly good. However, I guess this happened a while back and I didn't notice, but we're now centering these things. I don't know. This is still pretty good results. Because I guess we switched to draw label in checkbox. All right. There we go. So now we just have like a lot of space. Maybe checkbox theme should just have a label theme, right? Don't you think? Because if it's going to, well, Okay. Oops. Okay. That's a little much. Oh, this between pad. Where are we getting that from? Indent ratio. Oh. That's fine. It's a little bit different. I mean, maybe we should standardize. Let's just put that note. All right. So for now, though, we're just going to say this is 0 because we already added between pad. Great. That between pad is honestly not quite enough now. Also, the baseline is up a little bit because we changed some things. I don't know. That should be a Janene, I think. Yeah. I mean, I think these are things that we're going to have to theme further probably in the long run. To get real precise. Like with these, it actually looks higher up somehow than these. I guess because these don't have descenders ever, whereas these do. Like, this is the thing about layout, is you can't just pre-declare mathematically how the layout works, because it depends even on the text that you're drawing, whether it looks right or not. Like, now that I look at them really closely, all the uppercase ones are too high. And I guess it's been that way the whole time. But these look fine, because they have G's in them. That's why they look fine, I think. Except that also looks fine. So I don't know, guys. Anyway, this is something we'll tune later, I think. I mean, we'll pick better fonts later as well. This is just all making it work. Like, geez, don't freak out. Don't freak out. We're just making it work. Yes, that is what I was just saying. It's that the baseline should be lower on these. That is literally what I've been saying, guys. So that's the thing, is we don't okay. The thing is, I don't think we have in the checkbox theme yet. I mean, okay. We could use label theme in checkbox theme. And in fact, I mean, it's a little weird. Okay, here's the conundrum. Is like, hey, I just want to think about configuring the label that gets drawn on the checkbox, right? That makes sense. So that has text color. We don't need it here, right? But we don't necessarily, and actually we don't have a way to specify font effects, which is how you do things like small caps and lining figures and stuff. So like, we probably want that. However, like, there's a fucking font in button theme as well, because that has a label, because we're using colors in button theme. And like here we would be ignoring alignment probably, I guess. So it's like, it gets confusing if you reuse something and you don't really use all the fields. And if there's duplicate, like if I want to set the font, which one is the font, right? Now, if button theme had a label theme on it, yeah, like this is weird because this doesn't have an effects either. I don't know. Maybe button theme should have label theme and use the alignment and all that stuff, right? Like, do you want buttons with left and right aligned text? Maybe. Maybe you do. Maybe you don't. So like, if we had label theme on button theme, then we would get rid of font, text color, alignment, and alignment pad M's. Those would all be in label theme. We would get font effects, and then we get baseline vertical position, which right now there's no way to control on the button. So like, I think that's the thing to do. Let's try this real fast while I'm breaking everything. The problem is other people use button themes, so this could make conflicts here. So now, and then I'll put in the to-do list. Button theme uses labeled baseline parameter and has more labeled position control. Okay. Uses justification, etc. Okay. So okay. So slider theme has a label theme on the button theme. Okay, this is confusing because I don't know. let's try just getting all that. Wow, we compiled. Okay. So that's great. That's great. So now on checkbox, we could actually, for the apples, bananas, moon chips, and all that, we could drop it down a little bit. Oh. So here, so label theme, slider theme is getting the font. Okay. So we like don't need to make a label theme. Right? Can I get that name from there? Yeah. Okay. Right, so we want this to be centered by default. Wait, not centered. We want this to be left. Wait, no, that's slider. Checkbox theme. Okay, got it, got it, got it. So here we say alignment is left. We don't use alignment pad M's. Okay, actually, now that we're actually using this, it's like remove indent ratio in favor of alignment pad M's. Okay. Now that it's actually the value's there and we're not using it, it changes the calculus. Yeah. Okay, so oh, now we're doing both. We're doing both still. Okay, so alignment pad M's is 0.2 or whatever. Spacing between checkbox and text. And that means in checkbox, indent ratio oh. Dang it. So here, because we already computed the width, including, wait, what's text size? Text width. W. What? Okay, so this, now there's like old code that like, no, right now we're getting these things from the rectangle. Okay. So now we actually need to get the colors back is the problem. Okay, so this is all fine. Now we don't have our fun colors anymore. We will get those back by saying There we go. Okay, so things seem okay. Maybe. So we're going to get rid of this. We did that. Okay, so now the baseline parameter is actually being used in theory. So like we could actually move these down slightly if we want to. So let's just do it by overkill. So checkbox theme dot, what is it called? Text baseline vertical position equals -1. Okay, that's totally not being used. Totally not being used, guys. Okay, you know what? I'm not going to do that. I want to go to breakfast and have my day and stuff. So we're going to put that on the list for later. It is on the list for later. Right now, label does not use this, so it may destabilize some stuff when we turn it on. Okay. And then core draw label uses prepared text. So this will be, next time we go, these will be the thing to start. And then we'll debug this thing because we can't ship until we debug that. Yeah. Okay. There's a bunch of things to do. Look, the to-do list is just getting long. And the best strategy when that starts happening is to knuckle down and frickin' power the hell through it. However, I have other stuff to do today, and I've been powering through this thing for several days now. So it needs 1 or 2 more days of that at least, but we're going to take a pause here. Are there any questions about what we've been doing here? Sounds like you're trying to reinvent CSS classes. Dude, CSS is the worst thing in the universe, so no, I'm not trying to do that. If you're going to come here and insult me, just don't say anything. Just don't say anything. To do always expands because you always get fresh ideas. Well, that's one reason, but also, like, there's a big gulf between when things first kind of work and when they're the good version of what they should be, right? And a problem with a lot of software is people like get it working and then they're like, oh, that's good enough. And then they go and it's like, no, I see all these things to make better, and you see them faster than you can do them usually. So either you see them and you ignore them, or you see them and say, I'm going to do this, and you put it on the to-do list, right? And so the to-do list gets long. But none of these things are necessarily very hard to do. That's not hard. That's not hard. These are not hard. And also, I just went pretty fast with all this restructuring and all that. There's some things that I'm not totally comfortable with. Like, I'm doing this using stuff on like label theme, and maybe I don't want to do that because maybe we'll have multiple labels. Like for slider, I could imagine having multiple labels or something, right? And so using one of them is weird. And then this actual background color. Okay, yeah. So we want to do this rename because the button theme for something like slider is being used as the foreground piece. Maybe that's wrong. Or, okay, so this or... but you kind of like in the button, you think of it as the background, maybe, or I thought of it as the background, but really it's the surface of the button. So if I rename these surface color, that's a shorter word, which is great. But also then I don't have to call these actual background color, right? Because that's confusing and annoying, right? So like all these little knots happen when you write software, and you've got to like unknot the knots, or else things get bad, right? Is layouting next on the list? Layouting will happen eventually, but there's a lot of widget stuff still to do. And I don't know how long it'll take. And there's a lot of other compiler stuff to do. So like the short-term plan is to just ship the get-rect stuff to the people without necessarily having layout in there initially. And then we'll do it in a second version later. I don't know how much later, not that much later, because I want to make nice sample programs that have good layout. So part of what's interesting about that to me is like figuring out the layout. The idea of grouping formatting parameters is insulting to me. No, it's insulting to me because CSS is a giant steaming pile of shit. If you don't know why, CSS was not designed to be the thing that it is used for today, and that makes it awful. And if you don't understand why it's awful, cool, but don't bother me about it. And don't especially speak condescendingly to me about it. Dude, I did web stuff before CSS even existed. I saw it come into existence. I saw what it was meant for, how it was meant to be used, and then how it is actually used today, which is a completely different thing. It's like not even the same thing as it was supposed to be. So it's horrible. Like don't, yeah. It's like very bad at controlling style. Because it wasn't actually originally intended to control style exactly. What was CSS for? Okay. I'm going to get tired of explaining this eventually too, right? But both CSS and HTML, originally, the reason they suck so bad today is that CSS was not exactly about controlling style, and HTML was not about formatting a document. But that is how they are used today, okay? The original idea of web pages was that they were much more like ebooks or something, but that they were very flexible ebooks where you as the browser, the person wandering the web, would configure your browser so that it would draw the pages however you want, okay? That's why HTML has like tags like, here's a header 1, here's a header 2. It's because you could define what header 2 looks like, okay? And then CSS is designed the way it is because it's like, well, the web page could like offer some style defaults, but you're supposed to be able to change them, and we don't really know what anything is and like how it looks. It turns out that's not the web anybody wanted. Nobody wants to put the work into displaying pages that way, and people who make pages want to say how the pages look. So we have these things that were sort of designed for user configurable display, and they wouldn't have even really been very good at that. But that's what they were designed for. And yet we have this web where it's like the websites are supposed to control the way things look. But the things that they're given to control how things look are under constrained, which is why things don't work on all the browsers and stuff, because they're too vague. And they're vague because they were supposed to leave space for user configurability. All right? Like, if you do not understand that, and you do not understand, if you don't understand that we had good typesetting since the 1970s, and that like HTML was never as good at typesetting as the actual good typesetting that we had, like in tech, for example, which all academic papers use to this day. Like, I don't even, like, you can't come in here and say condescending stuff about how CSS is great if you don't know these things. Like, if you know all these things and you still think CSS is good, then I think you're wrong, right? But that's at least having a conversation from a position where both parties in the conversation know what they're talking about. But if you're just going to show up and say, oh, you're reinventing CSS because you're a web dude and you like CSS, but you don't even really know what CSS is or where it came from, I don't know what to say about that. That's not what you said, though. You said I was reinventing CSS. Why would I reinvent something that is bad at its job? That doesn't make any sense. If something is bad at a certain job and there already exist things that are better at that job, then why would you say that I'm reinventing the bad thing? Why don't you know? Okay. Enough of that. Enough of me responding to individual people in chat. I just need to stop doing that. It's anyway. No, someday I should do an actual formal speech about this because people don't like know these things anymore. Actually, there is a plan for a speech where these tidbits about HTML and CSS would be in there. But it would be a much bigger speech about a lot of things. Yeah, reinvent. I should just like have a bot that I don't know. Don't exactly want to kill messages, but like it could do a strike through for any message that has the word reinvent in it. Replace reinvent with a poop emoji. Yeah. Anyway, what am I doing right now? I am ranting uselessly in response to something that one person said out of 540 people, which is not really a productive thing to do. So we've got all these to-do list items to do. But that is how you deliver value to the people, is by doing the items, right? You do the to-do list items, you fix the bugs, you add the features, but only the good features. Yeah. All right, you know what? Let's do one real fast before we log off. Let's do this. Okay. So and instead of button color, we could say surface color. Right? Consistent terminology. All right. Does that compile? Nope. Oh, because someone overrides them. Yeah. Checkbox. Which also, it's misleading right here too, because this is actually the visible part of the checkbox. Okay, and then here in the panel, that's different. This isn't even in use yet. And then text input, that is actually the background. Okay, so surface. Lining them up. We have another override. See, renames, again, statically typed programming language, you just rename things willy-nilly and the compiler tells you. It's not rocket science like it would be. Surface color. Hey, look, cleanup, weirdly misnamed. There we go. Okay, and then actual background color we will also do. Okay, great. Okay, we did that. We have better naming. All right, so now we're going to rename actual background color to background. Okay. There we go. Boom. See, that was a thing you can do when your brain isn't totally braining. If you're in a statically typed language. In like, Tickle or like JavaScript, that would have taken 3 hours, what I just did. Not quite. That's an exaggeration, but it would have taken longer. Modern CSS is fine, dude. That's just false. That's false. Have I read the response on DataGub? I don't know what DataGub is. No, I have no idea. In general, I would only want to read a response to something if I know who it's from and they've done useful stuff. Like the problem with the internet is it's full of people talking about what somebody else said about what somebody else said, and it's all very useless very fast, right? So like if there's someone who's been out of college for 3 years and hasn't really done anything and wrote a response, I'm really not that interested, right? No offense to people who are out of college for 3 years, but like, Yeah, if it's from someone who's actually got a track record and done stuff, then I'll read it, right? And actually, you could be out of college for 3 years and have a track record and have done stuff. So that's not even the right descriptor. No, I saw this before. It's false. This guy doesn't even know what he's talking about, right? So like I skimmed it and I went down. He's talking about five nines, and he's like, in reality, five nines usually applies to things like your emergency response switchboards. No, that's false, dude. Like during the first .com boom, you would drive along the highway between Palo Alto and San Francisco, and there would be all these billboards about tech products, and many of them would be talking about how many nines the service provided. Like that was a thing. And it's kind of telling that in the second .com boom, when things are so much more networked and everybody's like, oh, apps are going to run in your browser and all that stuff, nobody cares about nines at all. Like even just reading stuff like that, I was like, okay, this is not a carefully thought out response. Like I feel like the dude just didn't try. I don't know. Like when I feel like the response is not carefully considered enough, it's like I put days of thought into doing that lecture and preparing it and all that, and like he didn't understand the loss of capability thing. He's saying something totally irrelevant. And then he says the thing about Facebook's real product is the ad delivery platform. I've used Facebook's ad delivery platform. It's horrible and buggy and really shitty. It's way worse than the regular website. So if he says that, doesn't even know what he's talking about. He hasn't used the ad delivery platform. Like I just can't. I just can't read these things, guys. I'm sorry. That's from a skim. I'm not going to actually read it. Like, dude, it was so difficult. I had to try like 5 times in order to correctly place an ad without it erroring out, right? The reason, like, I think the reason why is because they can get away with it because people whose job is to post ads on Facebook don't like have a choice, so they have to sit there and make it work. I don't know. It's just like this is the problem with the internet. It's like I said, is like everybody wants to say their thing about everything, but they don't really want to think that hard before they say their thing. And it just results in a lot of low quality rhetoric that I wish I knew how to get us away from. But it's sort of just human nature. This is what human nature produces in this context. So, rip. 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 It's 105 today. Oh man. Have to drive out to the Central Valley and get some of that heat. All right, so we're doing great. Will you be able to drive the UI with a robot? So the plan is that, so for the text input, for example, it's just got functions on it for doing all the operations, and you could call those instead of having them happen through the UI, right? So, you know, if you wanted to bind, for example, a simpler thing is I want to bind keys to do certain things with the UI, right? You could just call those functions in response to the key presses. That is not consistent across all the widgets yet, and is not totally documented, but it will be, right? I mean, that said, it's a little bit weird too, though, because like for the text input, it's like, okay, there's some complex operations, but for the sliders or something, they're immediate mode UI right now, which means they don't even own the data value. So if you want to change the data value, you don't have to call a method on the slider. You just change the data value. So maybe it doesn't even make sense to provide functions like that for a slider. General thesis when people try to defend web company as productive because is they probably haven't seen that many examples of highly productive companies, individuals, and then they go defense mode. Yeah, okay, I agree. But this is the problem, right? I mean, this is the problem with everything, is that people calibrate based on what they see, right? That's how, like, you're born and you're just in this world somehow and you have no idea what it is and you like figure it out, right? People decide what is reasonable based on what they have seen before, right? And that's a problem in a certain way because, okay, regardless of whether you agree with me that quality is degrading over time and that productivity is degrading over time, you could certainly imagine a scenario where that is true, right? And in that scenario, when this degradation is happening slowly over time, you get younger people, newer generations of programmers who go to learn programming. And what do they learn? Well, they learn the environment that's around them, right? The word productivity has some definition, right? What does that mean? What does it mean to be productive? Well, you learn that from looking around you. And some people can do a certain amount of things, and some people can do slightly more, and some people could do slightly less. And so based on that, you sort of decide in your brain what is productive and what isn't, right? Or maybe you don't even question it. Like if nobody is pushing that hard on the idea of being more productive, I mean, maybe there's rhetoric about it, but if nobody is measuring productivity in terms of actually accomplishing useful things, then maybe your brain decides that productivity isn't about accomplishing useful things exactly It's just this weird rhetoric that people have, right? So you kind of can't blame anyone for that, because that's what it means for human beings to be in an environment and to learn stuff. The problem is, if I put on I'm trying to help humanity have the best outcome hat, what do we do about that? Because it means that standards are just going to go down over time. Like if they start going down, well, it doesn't exactly, you need a couple more things to come to that conclusion, but it just means that there's definitely a bias in one direction, where if people are brought up in an environment that is lackluster, they will have weird ideas about a lot of lackluster ideas about a lot of things, right? It's the same way, like, how do people know how fast their computer is? Well, they only know it from using their computer and seeing how fast it is running all this software. So if all this software is really slow, then they think really slow is a reasonable speed, because that's what they've seen for their whole life. And then there might be a few counterexamples, but they're so different that they go to a different place in people's brains. So like on the one hand, people scroll a web page and it's kind of chunky and they're like, okay, I guess that's normal speed. And on the other hand, they'll play Call of Duty or see a video of it, at least on YouTube or whatever. And it does all this crazy, amazing stuff in real time at 120 frames per second. And that doesn't go into their brain in the same place that judges the speed of the web browser somehow, right? Because it's too different. It's like somehow it's in a different category and it must not apply, and web must just be different in a way that's hard. Like, we have people coming on the stream or on Twitter or whatever saying web is so hard because you have to clip to an arbitrary polygonal path sometimes. And I'm like, what are you even talking about, dude? Like, we have demolished that problem. And most web pages don't even do that most of the time anyway. So like, it's just, you kind of can't blame people, but at the same time, it's hard not to get irritated by the constant onslaught of all these people who think they know things, you know, like, just look at how much garbage you need to deal with during development. But that's, again, the same thing. Like, when people go to school or they learn how to program off the internet, how do they know what programming even is? It's from what they learn. It's from the environment they're exposed to, right? So if that environment is full of all this garbage, that's what programming is now. That's what they learned. They never saw programming that wasn't full of garbage, so why would they even think it can be not full of garbage? What about drop shadow? Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, really, I should be better about not getting annoyed with people, because I should understand where they're coming from. I should understand that they legitimately believe that these things are complicated or hard for some reason, and that the level of complexity, like that you somehow need a giant web browser that's 5 million lines and doesn't really work in order to draw web pages. Like, I understand how people could come to that belief. But at the same time, it's a very bad belief, right? And so, yeah, I don't know. Sometimes when I get angry, it doesn't seem like that. I mean, yeah, it's just, the problem is, it's terseness, right? Like, look, all this stuff that I just said, that took like 10 or 15 minutes to say all that stuff. if I had to say that every single time I ever spoke to anybody about any of these issues, I would go crazy and I would never get to the point. So like I just can't say all that stuff every time, right? But I don't know. Maybe I can say like 1% of it or refer people to something that they can go look at. Um, People want to be entertained, but I just essentially share part of my day. Yeah, I mean, I know. That's like the dynamics of Twitch, right? Um, that's why I don't stream sometimes. That's why sometimes I go for 3 months and don't stream at all. And then other times I do. On the other hand, you just spent half a day with the Win32 pipe APIs, and it seems like things have been terrible for quite some time. Well, okay. I haven't actually looked at those too closely. Certainly, okay, so since the dawn of time, there has been software that was bad and APIs that were bad, right? Um, However, there are multiple dimensions of things being bad, right? There's the dimension of this thing is really hard and inconvenient to use, and I have to think about all sorts of cases that I shouldn't have to, right? That's one. There's the dimension of like, there's not even really a right answer here. Like I just sort of have to do some stuff and hope it works, right? And that's to me like what the Windows message loop is like, which I think is a pretty bad API, right? It's like I still to this day don't know what to put in my Windows message loop in order to have a program behave correctly on Windows in the year 2021. But then so one thing that's much worse today, regardless, is just the magnitude. Like people just have no they don't think it's bad to pile more and more of these bad APIs on top of each other, right? So like magnitude just in terms of amount of code you have to deal with as a programmer, and magnitude in terms of like the amount of slop in the system because you have a sloppy layer on top of a sloppy layer on top of a sloppy layer, right? So that's sort of the main way in which this is compounding over time is the layering, right? But it's also that people aren't going back and fixing the things. So when some APIs are bad, like Windows message loop or whatever, like Windows messages were designed for like early Windows, which was cooperatively multitasked. And it was just like a different system. And people didn't know, like desktop operating systems with graphical user interfaces hadn't been around that long. You can forgive people for making bad choices, but when you don't fix it and it's 40 years later, that's pretty bad, right? So there's like, I don't know what to say about that. Like there have always been some sectors of software that were always bad and embarrassing. So like on Unix operating systems, even into the early 90s, like printing documents, it would like LPD would always frickin' crash or lock up or something. Like why? It was badly written. Like SendMail, giant piece of garbage. Nobody uses it anymore, I don't think. but like that was the mail program that everybody used. But like also those things were kind of trashy, but they were also way simpler than the equivalents today. And like, why? Like something's going on that's bad. It's bad because you have to do lots of things that none of the API docs allude to. It's a ton of trial and error to find out how things really behave. Yeah, that's bad. That's bad documentation, right? Or, I mean, it could also mean that the API is bad because it's more complicated than it needs to be. Yeah. Who knows? Are airplanes running on JavaScript nowadays? I sure hope not. You use libs that just wrapped send mail. Like to send an email or to handle emails. Like to send an email, there was like a separate client, I thought. But like the service to like receive emails and dispatch them was different. Isn't the problem with Windows that they insist on having software that was written 30 years ago still work? I mean, I don't think that that's the problem. That's actually a pretty good thing. That's one of the very valuable things that Windows has done. The problem is that they wasted their chances to provide better versions of these things, right? So what you really want to do is let the old message loop work for a while. Say, look, new applications should do this other thing where you just ask for messages out of a queue anytime you want, and you're not in some weird blocking mode when you're receiving messages and they don't get mysteriously changed from one place to another. Like, you just provide this new interface, but you do it in a way that is reasonable and sound and done by the adults in the room, right? And the problem is that Microsoft has had several big campaigns for like, this is the new API of how people are going to do things on Windows. But they were all like idealistically motivated things that were not reality based. Or maybe not idealistically, sometimes just crassly commercially motivated things. But like that all turned out to be things that people didn't really want and that made programs worse. And so then they made Windows complicated with these alternate APIs that people don't even want to use. And now they have to support all of that indefinitely into the past, right? So all the like Windows Store stuff that they did and whatever, the API that they renamed like 5 times, where they were like, now you can't create threads. Now you have to ask a thread pool for a thread or whatever. And it's like, no. Right? So like they definitely even had the willpower and the manpower and the budget to like add entirely alternative APIs into Windows. The problem is they just wasted those shots. Also, like the one before that was like deciding that .NET was going to be the new level of abstraction for everything. So all new APIs were going to be .NET, and you should just interface from that level as an application programmer. And it's like, oh, wait, now every program is going to be running a garbage collector all the time. Are you sure? And they're like, yep. And that didn't work out either. And the last year worth of Windows features was hiding the interface you're looking for behind a new one. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So like, it's the problem is really just bad decision making is the problem. And once the bad decision has been made and you see that it was a bad decision, not correctly going and cleaning up the toxic waste that you made. Like, that's really the problem. And they're not really in competition with anyone, I guess, because Linux isn't going to take their market share. And Mac isn't going to take their market share. So they just don't have to care. So, GG's. Chrome OS is growing. Interesting. I think the consequence of web-based apps is partially a consequence, or the rise of web-based apps is partially a consequence of OS APIs being fractured and bad and C++ being bad. I agree with that. Like, look, if we offered a saner, cleaner, robust, easy to deal with native programming experience, people wouldn't be as scared of it. But like when you offer them a giant toxic garbage heap, of course they're going to be scared of it. Of course. Like, what do you expect? Of course they're not going to want to program natively if it's, programming in C++ on the Windows Store, right? Or whatever. So, yeah. What if we give them more than one garbage heap? Yeah, that seems to be the thinking. All right, everybody. Thanks for the chat. I am going to go about my day for a while. I've got a design meeting today. I've got probably fixing some compiler bugs. And maybe delivering value to the people soon. Like, I don't want to deliver the value too soon before we do a little more UI stuff, but I think it'll happen pretty soon. All right, thank you, everybody. Thanks for listening to the rants. Thanks for hanging out. We will continue later on. Bye-bye.